Emily Dickinson was a well-to-do recluse who lived in Amherst, Massachusetts during the 19th century. The majority of her large body of poetry was published after her death. Her poems are noted for their unconventionality, such as poems lacking titles and her unusual use of punctuation and weak rhyme. Weak rhyme is a poetic device referring to when words do not rhyme with each other perfectly, but they nonetheless sound right together. Examples of this device include rod with red and bridge with grudge. While these pairs do not rhyme perfectly together, they have assonance, which refers to the resemblance of sounds. We see weak rhyme and other hallmarks of Dickinson's style in this poem. The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door. On her divine majority, obtrude no more. Unmoved, she notes the chariots pausing at her low gate. Unmoved, an emperor is kneeling upon her mat. I have known her from an ample nation. Choose one. Then close the valves of her attention, like stone. While an online analysis of this poem argues that this poem is about an exclusive friendship, I believe the theme of this poem can be brought into Dickinson's overall exclusion of the world from her life. The soul, Dickinson's self, selects her own society, not a real society, but actually herself. She is choosing solitude to spend time with herself. By staying in her room, she is actually shutting the door on the outside world. One interesting facet of this poem is the transition from true rhyme in the first stanza to weak rhyme in the last two stanzas, especially as the first stanza is written completely differently than the others. Note how the first stanza has roughly equally long lines, while the last two stanzas have a long line then a short line. Perhaps this is to highlight the contrast between true and weak rhyme, or to prove how Dickinson is selecting her own society by deviating from conventional true rhyme in favor of weak rhyme. The weak rhyme in the second stanza consists of pausing, weak rhyming with kneeling, and gate, weak rhyming with mat, as his poem is written in pairs in an A-B-A-B rhyme scheme. Writing a stanza in unconventional weak rhyme about rejecting highly esteemed outside influences in favor of herself further proves Dickinson's commitment to solitude. This poem ties into themes of the Romantic movement through Dickinson's self-love, or as some interpretations of this poem argue, a deep friendship. By closing off the outside world, by closing the valves of her soul's attention, Dickinson expresses love for her soul.